You guys, I haven't been this excited about really anything in the markets for over a year, which is why I haven't made a video in like over a year. But the bull case right now for nuclear stocks is absolutely crazy. So in this video, I'm just going to be giving you guys some data, kind of showing you why the whole sector of nuclear I think is going to be a really good play for the next 6 months, decade, whatever. And I'm going to show you guys a couple stocks that I'm looking at right now. We'll kind of do a deep dive into them. We're going to do some fundamental and technical analysis on them. And then I will show you just a list of other stocks that I haven't gotten into that much because either I haven't had the time to deep dive into them yet, or they just don't seem as appealing to me as an investment. So the first bull case is this video from like a couple days ago from the CEO of Nvidia, the biggest stock in the US right now, the biggest company. And he's just talking about basically how bullish he is on new energy because they need like 1,000 times more compute to power all of this AI stuff that's going to be coming.
The amount of energy that we need for computing is likely, probably 1,000 times more than we currently have. And that's an enormous amount of energy. However, the way to think about that is in the future, computers are going to be.
All right, you can watch the video if you want to. It's like 2 minutes, but you get the point. He's super bullish on energy. Here's a pretty good list of some stocks that you can look into from the stock whale, but we're going to do a pretty quick deep dive into this. So you can see right now this is a pretty crazy chart. I mean, the US is already talking about, having more nuclear, building more nuclear. We're really behind right now and compared to like China, or I shouldn't say we, I'm Canadian, but the US is behind compared to China, Europe, and even Canada right now in terms of nuclear production. They're actually importing a ton of nuclear to power things. And you can see right now the domestic concentration production of uranium from the 1980s where it peaked compared to now is just crazy different numbers. After doing the math, the US is actually producing 0.1% of domestic uranium compared to the peak in the 1980s. And again, all of this relates back to AI. It's clear that AI is the future. I think we're in like an industrial revolution.com equivalent right now for AI. Everybody's switching over to AI in their companies. I don't need to explain to you why AI is the big thing. You should kind of know that right now. But we need a renewable energy to power all of this AI, right? We need something sustainable as well. All of the stuff in the news the government's been pumping out for the last decade or decades about clean renewable energy. And if you want to talk about wind and solar, it's just a joke compared to nuclear. You can see some numbers right here. Estimated land use required to generate 4,100. I don't even know what that means, but doing the math, solar needs 451 times more land than nuclear to make the same electricity, and nuclear is 3 times more reliable than solar. I mean, solar only works in the daytime, right? So there's a lot of things with solar and wind turbines that are bottlenecks. They make problems that nuclear doesn't. By the way, I'm reading this from a post in my school community. I just revived the Corcoran Research Group, and if you want to see information like this before I post it on YouTube, completely free to join. You'll have a community of other like-minded investors and traders. So it's a lot of fun. If you want to join it, I'll put the link in the description. Again, it's completely free, and you'll get this information early. So let's talk about the actual stocks that I'm looking to investing into. So first off, I just got to mention that the S&P 500 has just been cooking. I see people on Twitter all the time. You got like Robert Kiyosaki, you got Michael Burry. Everyone's like tweeting about there being a huge crash for the last 5 years, and they've been wrong every single time. So don't be one of those guys who just watch The Big Short and thinks that you're going to be the next Big Short guy. You're going to be the next Michael Burry. You're going to be sick. He's been wrong most of the time. He made a big play, whatever. Robert Kiyosaki, he's been right about metals, but the guy's just trying to sell his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, at the end of the day. So don't sleep on the potential opportunity that's happening right now. But if we just mark up the S&P 500 real quick, you can see these are kind of the legs that we're trading within. So the two places that we could potentially go back to is we could go back down to this demand zone, which would be like a 4% dip. I don't really see that happening right now. I think we're most likely going to trade into this area here because this low kind of caused this new high, and there's a lot of accumulation here. So we could reverse from there, but I think we're probably going to get like a 1% dip or something like that. We'll probably go a little bit lower than where we're at right now. But nonetheless, I think just this whole area right here is, a decent spot to be looking at in terms of looking at some stocks to buy. So the first stock that we're looking at is UEC. So this isn't the biggest stock in the world. It's only got $6.9 billion market cap, which means that we're pretty early. And again, this is the stock that like led the pump yesterday. We ripped 14%. So it's definitely got some volume. It's got some interest on it right now. And it is currently America's largest and fastest growing uranium company. It's controlling the largest uranium resource base within the US. And this is huge because, again, the US has been importing tons of uranium, and they're going to be trying to not rely so much on imports. They're going to be trying to do more domestic. So this puts UEC at a very strong position fundamentally. If you want to read more about this, they have obviously their own website, so I would definitely check that out. And it's also 100% unhedged, meaning it has full exposure to rising uranium spot prices. They also have no debt reported in the recent quarter update, which is obviously a couple days ago, which is probably a big reason, a big contribution to the pump that they just had yesterday. So this is a great stock. Looking at it, I think that we are in a good position for it to just keep ripping. I mean, it looks like we're close to all-time highs, but if you mark it up on the chart, we still have potential for 43% ROI just for it going to the local highs. But I do also think that we could go lower. I mean, the chances of us going below this leg is pretty low, but there's always a chance that, we come down and fill this imbalance here before we keep ripping. Again, I'm not a huge day trader. I'm not an intraday trader like that. I just like to buy at the best price possible, but I'm still doing kind of a lot of averaging. So don't take this like I'm looking for like the crystal clear exact entry point like some of these intraday traders. I'm still willing to kind of average in from where we're at now. I'm just keeping capital ready just in case we do go down to like $6 or something crazy like that, right? Okay, the next one that we're looking at, this is actually my favorite pick right now, is Constellation Energy. So this is a much bigger stock, but CEG operates the largest nuclear fleet in the US with about 21 reactors, and they just signed a 20-year deal for nuclear energy with Meta and Microsoft, with the power delivery beginning in June 2027 with Meta, and at some point in 2027 with Microsoft. It was initially 2028, but they made it even earlier because of the demand for nuclear power in relation to AI right now. So the reason I like this stock the most is because of that potential news event that could be happening next year. So when you have like a really parabolic sector like this, and you're going to be going into price discovery, it can be really hard a lot of times to find places to take partial profits, right? Once we go above this new high and we're in price discovery, who knows where to take profit unless there's a news event. So there's going to be these big news events. They're going to be all over the articles, the headlines next year when these big events happen with Meta and Microsoft, when these deals start, these 20-year deals, and that'll be a good time to take maybe 50% partial profits, as we could be seeing a rip at that time. You don't want to be buying the news, you want to be selling the news. That's just a rule of thumb. So looking at the chart, this hasn't seen a crazy rip like UEC has, which is, it's awesome. We're sitting like kind of in the middle of this trading range right now with this last leg here. We could still see a 55% return on investment just going to those local highs, and we could see a 40% dip, or like more likely a 20% dip if we go to that local low. So again, I wouldn't be too upset with investing right now, just putting some money in, especially because we've been consolidating, and we could see a reversal from where we're at right now. I mean, price came, filled this gap, but we could go a lot lower. So the next one is GEV. This is an incredibly strong looking stock. If you look at the chart, it's just been ripping. So right now, GEV is already killing it with other like current renewable energy, which is why they've been pumping so much recently. They already are making money. They're already selling to data centers, which explains again why it's been pumping so much already. But for the near future, they're the ones that are building these custom advanced nuclear reactors. So they're building the reactors, and they have a model. It's called the BWRX 300, which is a modular nuclear reactor. It is much smaller and simpler than traditional big nuclear plants. So they're going to be selling to these big data centers that are going to be a provider for companies like Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, all of the big tech giants, or the hyperscalers that they're calling them right now. A little fun fact, the first one is already under construction, and it's like 10 minutes away from here in Ontario, which I thought was pretty cool. And that's expected to be running in 2030. So this is a long-term play, but it's also making money right now. So it's a very strong stock, although it is pretty expensive at $950. I don't know if you can get fractional shares on WealthSimple or not. Okay, I just looked it up. You can get fractional shares for GV on WealthSimple. If you guys are in Canada, I definitely recommend using WealthSimple to trade. I have a link in the description for that, as well as other brokers and TradingView. So if you guys don't have these tools or these brokers, definitely check them out. But yeah, with how much the stock's been ripping, we're not really consolidating yet. I think we're probably going to trade into this low here, which would give us another 10% dip or so, and then we'll probably rip from that area back to all-time highs as the S&P 500 and everything turns around. Guys, we're in such an exciting time right now with the stock market. I think there's a lot of potential. I've never been so interested in the stock market as much as I've been interested into crypto. So very exciting time. We're definitely in an AI revolution that we can capitalize off of. But with all that being said, make sure you guys join my school community again if you want to see this kind of information early, if you want to have a like-minded community of people. I already had a group for this before, but I switched it from WAP to school because I like school better. If we can get 100 people in this again, like we did before, that would be amazing. But yeah, check that out for the sauce, the early sauce. Thank you for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe. Take care.